welcome to the show. I am very excited to have you here.
I'm super excited to be here too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be a fun topic about virtual assistants and like when to hire one, because I know that was like a huge thing for me. I would hear other people talking about, oh yeah, I'm hiring a virtual assistant, or I've had one for a year or so, and I'm just like, I don't even know when, like what are the signs. So I'm excited to get into that today. But could you give us a little background about yourself and where you're based, what you do, and all that?
Yeah, so my name is Emily Woodruff, and my business is called Moxie Assist. Um, Long story short, I'm in Michigan, in the thumb of Michigan. Um, used to be, I mean, I still am. I'm a photographer, but mostly when COVID hit, it kind of destroyed my whole photography business. In Michigan,
Yeah.
we had super strict laws about what you could do, which I know it was like that in other parts of the country, but it was completely shut down. So I started looking for other revenues for income and started looking at my 9 to 5 where I'm an administrator. I've done it for 20 years or so. And it finally just dawned on me, why not work with other people outside of my regular job and do this sort of thing? So I started focusing on working
Yeah.
with photographers, which because that's what I was and am, and I know a lot about it, and I didn't want to completely shut off that part of my business. Um, and I have a lot of
Hmm.
expertise in that area that, unless you've walked the walk, you don't know it. You just don't. It's a little bit different than a regular VA. So that's kind of my bread and butter is
Right.
working with female photographers. Um, so that's I
Yeah, I
think that's
find that
pretty
with
high
like
level.
VAs and like, yeah, and like with CPAs too, where it's just like it's a different sort of deal. Like the whole solopreneur, entrepreneur type thing is one segment
Yeah,
of like virtual assistant, and then also you have the photographer inside of there, and
yeah,
then there's all the little subsets. So yeah, having that expertise and experience being a photographer uh, is great. I'm sure that's really, really handy. And I know a lot of people, as myself included, as I'm looking for a VA, I'm like, I want someone who understands
yes,
photography, and they're not gonna like come to me like I'm like a lawyer or someone looking
yeah,
for a virtual assistant to help with managing
yeah.
stuff.
It just
But
it just really helps to have somebody who's like creatively minded also. And I know that I'm kind of an anomaly
mhm,
because most photographers aren't also administrative. We don't love type A
right.
type of work and don't love that sort of thing. But I'm one of those weirdos that's right in the middle and I love it both ways. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Same here. I'm the weird artist that also really likes numbers and spreadsheets
Yeah.
and things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, that's very cool. So over like, or how? So that happened around. You said like kind of COVID spurred that moving
Yeah.
into um, doing virtual assistants and all of that. For
Yep.
those who like don't really know, never heard of a VA, don't really know what a virtual assistant does, what are some of the things that you do, especially for photographers?
Well, so I kind of coined the term for myself, like I'm your online bestie. Um, so my clients, they can email me for anything. I'm basically their assistant that's outside of their office. So I'll help with blog posts or doing SEO on their websites. I can help them edit their photos. I'm currently working on like welcome guides for a certain photographer that I'm working for. I've done
Nice.
workflow organization, email, what's the word I'm trying to say? Um, Email workflows,
Like
just kind of getting
management.
things orderly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, email management, but
Mm-hmm.
also like automations in your email. That's the word I wanted. So just all of the things that you hate
Okay.
doing, I love doing.
Yeah, all those like little tedious things that you're like, oh man, I've got to work through all these emails again, or I've got to edit
Yeah.
through all these photos. I just want to go out there and shoot again. You're
Yes.
like, yes, give it to me. I love this. I will do it.
Yes.
No,
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of like moves into the next question that was on my mind was like, what are some benefits that people could get from hiring a virtual assistant? And like, you're already hitting some of those with like the tedious things that we tend to like. I have to-do lists that are they're pretty long, and I like have my top three that I need to get done every day, and then the other ones I'm like, eventually I will get around to writing this blog. Like, it has
Yeah.
been on my to-do list for a while to write this blog, but eventually I will do it. I
Hmm.
just have these other things that I enjoy doing more, and like that kind of stuff can really move your business forward by, handing that off to a VA to come in and just be like, "Hey, Emily, help me out here," and then
Yeah.
you can swing in and do it.
Yeah. There's so some of the
Yeah.
things, I mean, and there's so many different types of VAs. There's some that are specifically like social
Mm-hmm.
media managers, and some specifically write blog content or do specifically admin work kind of thing. So it really just depends on what you're looking for, but it's mostly just offloading the items that you don't want to take care of or don't have the time to take care of without having to hire a
Mm-hmm.
permanent employee, because there's so many other rules for having a permanent employee compared to like a contractor like I would be. That there's financial
Oh yeah.
benefits, there's that's a whole other episode in itself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point there of like, this isn't just the stuff that you don't like doing, to hand off to a VA. Like, it can be the stuff that you do enjoy doing, that it is something that you're really good at, but you just don't have the time now, either
Mm-hmm.
because of, work life balance, and you don't want to spend, 18 hours a day working, or you're scaling and building your business. Because I know, as I've been scaling my business, and like, I have multiple photographers underneath me and different
Mm-hmm.
employees and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is a lot more to manage than when it was just me out here, me and my laptop, and that was it.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. So, what are some signs you would say for someone who's like, I don't know if it is the right time to hire a VA? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are some signs that they can look for to kind of give them that nudge in the right direction?
Yeah. So the first thing I always tell people is to just know that you're financially ready. Um, Having a few good months doesn't mean that you're financially ready. It means that you are booked out, your finances
Mm-hmm.
are solid, you're not worrying about how to pay your bills next month. You have contracted work for the foreseeable future. Um, Knowing that your finances are steady is the first thing I would tell you. Um,
Yeah.
if you know that you have like processes that need to be updated, or routine things that you do them every day, but know there's either a better way to do them or more efficient ways to do things, or you just need help getting that from your mouth to paper, basically. Um, that's a really good
Uh-huh.
indicator, so that if somebody else came on board, you can have your systems all laid out and not have to do intensive training, intensive additions, things like that. Um, Even with like contracts
Yeah.
and invoice management and stuff, just having that developed in a professional way is that's a really good thing to have under your belt. Um, and then the last thing, we kind of talked about it a little bit, is when you have so much on your plate that you don't get to do the fun thing anymore. Like, if you're a photographer and it feels like everything you have to do is not taking pictures or not editing your photos, which is
Uh-huh.
either your favorite or least favorite part of photography. When it feels like everything you have to do is just taking away from that, that's a huge red flag that it's time to outsource, to get somebody else on your team, and to alleviate some of those tasks that don't need you specifically to address.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The like you had mentioned there, oh no, and I lost it. I was like in my mind like pinning it to the wall. I was like, I'm gonna bring this up as soon. But you mentioned the signs. Sorry, I am blanking. I don't even know where that thought went.
That's okay.
But yeah, no, I what?
I think we got
Yeah,
echo.
no, it's oh, do we? Okay, mine. The computer's still muted. Can you hear me fine here, or are you
Yeah,
hearing yourself?
I'm good. I think it was just a weird little blip we
Okay,
had.
okay, cool. Okay, well, sweet. But yeah, no, like that. The the, that assessment of where you are in your business, I think, is so great to have because um, you can rush into hiring a VA because you're just like, this is the next step. This is, so and so down the street is doing this, and I see that they are, we're around the same, or at least it looks like that through
Yeah.
social media. But not having, like you mentioned, with the processes.
Hmm.
That was the pin that I had in my mind
There you go.
that is now back, but it eventually comes back. You talk long enough, it'll pop back in. But like, yeah, having the systems and processes all ironed out before you bring on anyone is huge, because usually by the time that you do bring on someone, you're either swamped and just you don't have enough time to do what you're doing. So then whenever you bring someone in, it's just like you throw them to the wolves, and you're just like, here, you know how to do this, go. And you don't have everything lined up for your actual processes.
Right.
So having that lined out, like you said, is just, it's going to make that transition so much smoother. Bringing in someone where um, they'll be able to just learn from you and not have to, if they hit a roadblock or something, not be like, oh hey, Emily, what
Yeah.
about this, what, how exactly do you want me to do this? But they can
Right.
just look at those processes.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's great. Are there any other, like, couple more things that the listeners can do to kind of prepare for when it is time to hire, to make that more of a smooth transition?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, um, just evaluating where you're at is a really big deal. And that sounds like, as a small business owner, you would think that you know where you're at, but actually looking and planning out the tasks that you want to offload, that's a huge thing. Um, Knowing that you and your VA have access to the programs that they're going to be using, whether they're like logging into your account or you need to set up user admins, um,
Mm-hmm.
budgeting for it, making sure you have the finances and the work for them if you are setting up a contract with them for a retainer of 10 or 20 or 40 hours a month or whatever it is. um,
Oh yeah.
and kind of just knowing what kind of personality you want to work with. That's a big thing, and I think people are terrified of hiring VAs because of that. That's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to keep them forever. You can do trial based hires, you can do trial based and you can simply just hey, I just don't think we jive together. I don't think you're the mix for me. And I think that's way more beneficial than trying to grit your teeth and work with somebody that just doesn't mix well with you. So kind of knowing what qualities are important and what things are important to you as someone you're going to be essentially partnering with. It's good to
Yeah.
review those so it's not such a shock when you do hire someone on.
Right. Yeah. And if you're feeling that way of, because I'm very much I'm getting better at it now, but I'm very much a, like, people pleaser, and I call myself like a recovering people pleaser, where
Ah,
I at one point would just be like, okay, this is like, it doesn't feel like this is a good fit, but I'm just going to
yeah,
keep doing this because I've hired them and they need the job or whatever I'm telling myself in my mind. And like, if you're feeling that on your end, they're probably feeling things are a
Yeah.
little weird on their end too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's great, and that's like one of those things that you were talking about with it's um, it's more freeing to
Yeah.
hire a virtual assistant than a like full-time employee,
Hmm.
because a full-time employee is a little bit harder to be like, hey, we have to part ways. But a virtual assistant's like, you're working with other people right now too, so I
Yes.
don't feel so bad being like, I don't think this is working out.
And you probably don't even have to do it in person because it's virtual. So,
Yeah.
like one of my clients, I have a client that's in Michigan, which is awesome. And we're like,
Uh-huh.
hey, we could meet someday, but I've never met her. So if she
Yeah.
needed to fire me, which thankfully she adores me, but if she needed to, it could be like, hey, Emily, not going to renew for the next quarter, and I'd be bummed, but it is what it is. And it's okay. Where if
Yeah.
if it was my full-time job, it would be life changing and altering, and there's just not that same weight of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really nice. Like, I mean, one, really nice for you, and not having that, because that's what, like, as a 9 to 5 corporate employee, I felt that, where I was like, this could end at any moment
Mhm.
for really no reason at all. They could just
Mhm.
be, hey, we're going to be downsizing, or whatever. you
Yeah.
you brought fish into the cafeteria too many times and we have to
Right.
kick you out. And there wasn't that stability there for me,
Mhm.
which is probably because I think I have like the entrepreneurial gene, and
Yeah.
like, I want to work for myself.
You want to
And
be able to eat
but
fish
yeah,
whenever you want.
right, yeah, I'll go microwave it right now if I want to.
Exactly.
But
That's
yeah,
great.
no, I think that's so good. And you mentioned earlier about one of the ways to kind of prepare for bringing on a virtual assistant, and one of the ways to see, is this a good time to bring someone in, is knowing where you are financially. I think
Mhm.
way too many times we, like, especially wedding photographers, where it's just like you have like the heavy seasons, especially like in Michigan, because
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all don't have a big winter season of shooting weddings. When here in Texas, it's like October, we are ramping up into busy season,
Yeah.
because it is starting to cool off and it's not, a million degrees outside. Um,
Right.
so having that fluctuation of, I have a heavy month. I'm bringing in a lot of money. I've got a really nicely padded bank account, to other months where it's like, I am scraping by, and I
Yeah.
really hope I get another deposit coming in soon.
Yep.
Uh, like, having that, like you were talking about, with seeing your finances, and not just seeing like, oh, I've got 20K in the bank right now, but like, what is that allocated to? How long is that going to
Right.
last? And can I afford to bring someone on right now? I think
Right.
that's something that's a little bit scary for a lot of people, to actually look into those numbers,
Yeah.
but very
But
important.
there's also a whole other world of VAs. I mean, and I do it too. There's one-off projects and things, but obviously for this conversation we're talking about like a long-term VA, but if you're
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's wanting to get your feet wet with it, or you're still just a little nervous of it, absolutely hire them for a trial period, or just do it for a quarter, something small and manageable, and then reevaluate all of those things and see if it fits into your budget and into your, just the scheme of your business.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's some really great tips.
Thanks.
Before we kind of wrap up everything, there is a question that I like to ask about what you're loving this week, and it can be anything from a movie you saw recently, to a new book, or really anything at all. What are you loving this week, Emily?
Okay, I had a totally different answer prepared, but so I'm in love with The Sims. Like
Nice. Like the
the
video game
Sims.
Sims?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
That's great.
I'm like, I feel like such a nerd, but I just bought like 4 expansion packs last night and I'm so excited. So probably the
That is
Sims 4.
awesome. Okay, so what's something that's like what has rekindled your love for Sims?
I don't I don't know.
Just
Um
nostalgia or
I
just
think
like
so. My husband
yeah.
keeps saying, "You just want to be God, don't you?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. It is not that." But yeah, it's kind of fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I never had the Sims game, but I had Roller Coaster Tycoon
Okay.
where you could also like name people and you could pick them up and be like, "No, you're going to go to this roller
Yeah,
coaster instead. And I'm going to make you go on that 10 times in a row."
exactly.
And that kind of it was so much fun just like watching everyone and seeing
Hmm.
and like naming them. I had one that was me
Hmm.
that I had named John. And I'm like, what is he doing? Really? You're getting cotton candy again? Okay. And yeah, it's fun. It's
He'll
interesting.
like
So
my husband will like walk in the room and he's 14 years older than I am, so he was never into anything like that. And he'll look at
uh-huh.
me and he's like, "Oh, you're playing it?" I'm like, "Please just you're already married. You can't leave me. You can't leave me
Right,
anymore.
yeah.
This is it."
Don't don't judge me. I'm having
Yeah,
fun.
whatever.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm also I might check out Sims because I've seen it like a lot on TikTok of people playing lately,
Yeah.
and I was like, it does look kind of fun, and that would be like
And
a little pastime.
yeah, and just a little shameless plug for them. They have huge sales going on right now for their expansion packs and deals. I'm
Oh,
like not somebody who
okay,
spends money on things like that, and
right.
it's a good time
You're
to
like,
check it out.
I can't pass this up. This is too good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Um, I'm also going to call an audible on what I had prepared for what I'm loving this week, mainly because my notes are on my phone, and right now my phone is recording me, so I can't pull that up. But right now, what am I loving this week? What has been different? We've so I'm loving that I have the house to myself right now. Um, I'm loving that school has
Nice.
started back up. Um, I have 3 kids. All 3 of them are loving school right now and just enjoying it so much and just coming home and being like, today was the best day ever. And
That's
for no
fun.
really particular reason, they're just like, today was so good. I'm like, what happened? They're like, oh, I don't know. We
That's
had fun
awesome.
at school. I'm like, well, I'm glad you're having fun. So they're
Yeah.
they're really enjoying it. I am enjoying about 5 hours a day where I get to work, I get to podcast, I get to maybe play some Sims later this week. Who knows? But yeah, just like kind of that free time and that they're really enjoying being back with their friends and all that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, sweet. Emily, this was so good. So
Yeah.
many good tips and like a great roadmap for anyone who's ever thought about hiring a VA to just move forward and be like, okay, these are some things that I need to work on. Make sure this is all tightened up, and then we can talk about a VA. Where can people find you online? Where can they follow you and say hey and all that?
Sure. Yeah. So my website is moxieassist.com and I hang out mostly on Instagram and that's just at moxieassist.
Perfect. Okay, sweet. We'll have those links in the show notes, and yeah, we'll have all that on there so people can come say hi and hang out. I am also mostly on Instagram, just all the time. I feel like I'm just scrolling and having fun and being in the DMs and all of that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, well, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.